line up here, or you ride on the nose of Bobby Rahal's car. So we are ready to go racing. The 9th round of the PPG IndyCar World Series as the field works its way around behind Johnny Rutherford in the pace car for the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 at Portland International Raceway in the Great Pacific Northwest. Robbie Gordon trying to get the tires scrubbed just as clean as he possibly can. Track nice and warm, temperatures going into the 80s here in Portland. A magnificent and beautiful day, crystal clear. 102 laps ahead. The first fuel stop, considering the yellows, could come about the 32nd lap. Some other information to consider as we head toward the start of this race. In that ongoing battle that is the Nations Cup, a battle in between the teams. It is still the United States looking so very strong in that particular fight.
And there's an ongoing battle between these car manufacturers also, because here this weekend, the Lola car that Michael Andretti is in, or Bobby Rahal, or Paul Tracy, is not as good as the Rayner. They are struggling here this weekend.
All right, and in today's field, as you ride on board with Paul Tracy, there's the breakdown of chassis, engines, and tires. So now let's go to the pits. Gary Gerould.
Paul, two of the drivers in the Lola chassis who've had a frustrating weekend, the Newman Haas drivers, Paul Tracy and Michael Andretti. Tracy starting 7th, Michael 10th. And for Paul Tracy, further frustrations diagnosed this morning by Dr. Steve Olvey on site with tonsillitis. He has headache, he has fever, he has inflamed tonsils. He's not feeling anywhere near 100% as he seeks his 3rd victory of the season. He is starting in the 4th row.
And here is the map of the track. 102 laps, 1.950 miles per lap.
And this track is very difficult to set up for, because at both ends you need lots of downforce to go around these long double apex corners. However, you don't need to drag that downforce down the long straights because you're too slow. But the key consideration here is lots of downforce eats up the fuel, and fuel is a major factor to trying to finish this race, particularly if you want to go in just 2 pit stops.
And in fact has decided some of the outcomes at this race. Paul Tracy, definitely keep an eye on him and hope that he does in fact feel better. Now remember too that the key passing area is that little bump that you saw on the main straight, the pit straight. They call it the festival turns, and I'll tell you what, you slam down in there, come down through the gears, jump all over the brakes, and if you're going to get somebody, that's where it's going to happen. The field comes into alignment in the carousel. The long straightaway lies just ahead. Johnny Rutherford drives the PPG pace car, gets it off the track. Field now in the hands of Jeff Villeneuve, the pole sitter, as he pulls just a bit ahead and is being chased by Al Unser Jr. And we go green. Now that first turn, that critical turn, as Al Unser Jr. ducks in ahead of Jimmy Vasser, and Gugelmin tries to get inside Vasser too.
And look at Paul Tracy did. Down the inside of Gugelmin, or Vasser forced the issue, and Vasser gave him just enough room.
Well, if he's got some sort of problem, it's not evident in that start. Paul Tracy looking very strong. Gugelmin now trying to close on the back end of Vasser. There's the leader of the race, the 27 car, Jeff Villeneuve. He should be very powerful today.
Fast in every session here. One of the few drivers, or one of the many drivers now running extremely low downforce, which means he is very fast down these long straights, and Al Unser Jr. knows that.
Unser Jr. got a great start, though, jumping up from the 2nd row and dropping into 2nd place. Look at that smoke, though, but that's not a concern coming off of Junior's car.
That is the wood burning. Wood burning, yes, indeed. Jabrock, which is a condensed wood that they run underneath these cars, and the Penske's in particular run on the deck and burn up a lot of that wood.
So Paul Tracy flashes across the line in pursuit of Al Unser Jr. running in 3rd place. As once again you see the tremendous smoke as the cars bottom under braking here, and they've completed their first lap at Portland International Raceway at 108.025 miles an hour.
As Vasser locks up the front brakes into that chicane. Back with Gugelmin, who was the fastest man, one of the fastest men this morning in the warm-up, goes to this race thinking that he has a realistic chance of having his best ever IndyCar finish. Closely followed by the rest of the Brazilian bunch. That was Gil de Ferran and Christian Fittipaldi.
Then Brian Herta, Bobby Rahal, and Michael Andretti round out the top 10. There's Christian Fittipaldi, the 15 car. A fellow that you seem to be very impressed with, too, as we watch the leader, and we can see the interval from 1st back to 2nd place, Al Unser Jr., who very quickly is going to be irritated with the presence of Paul Tracy and Jimmy Vasser, because they're right there.
And just look at that impressive lead built up by Jacques Villeneuve already. Only 2 laps into the race. And the comment was made this morning, he must have phenomenal mechanical grip because he's able to go so fast with such little aerodynamic downforce or aerodynamic grip. Look at Tracy all over the back of Junior as he gets it sideways under power out of the chicane.
That battle for second heats up while Tracy comes in, tries to poke his nose in behind Al Unser Jr. once again. Working the second lap.
This is the Lola versus the Penske. Al Unser Jr. was delighted with the handling of this car. The Penske on full tanks this morning. He struggled on Friday a little bit, then blistered in qualifying with that time that put him on the second row. But in full tank running this morning, he was happy. Let's listen in on Paul. Fastest part of the racetrack. Down to second gear. Miles an hour in full tanks. Watch how tight this is. Now here's the long, long double apex corners. Watch how long this corner is. Doing his best and not able to stay with Junior. Look at Junior get away. Very important corner onto the long, fastest part of the track. Long back straight, 186 miles an hour in qualifying.
That battle's closer than it might appear. Tracy's, in fact, only 0.8 of a second back behind Al Unser Jr. As we watch Mauricio Gugelmin, Christian Fittipaldi, and Gilles de Ferran as they all battle. And the battle begins at 5th and extends really back through about 13th. They're all lined up.
All in the Reynard chassis. This is a huge battle between manufacturers here. The first 3 positions in the race at the moment, Reynard, Penske, and Lola. So it is close.
Brian Herta has joined the back end of this group as well, trying to close in. Michael Andretti sits back just a bit. There's Bobby Rahal, as now he's closed in and joined that fight.
Rahal, another driver who struggled mightily this weekend, again in the Lola.
Here's a look at the start from Paul Tracy's car. Give you an idea how crowded it can get down here.
He got a great jump. He goes inside, he goes outside. Look at this. Brave move inside Vasser. Oh, Vasser sees him and just gives him enough room. Jimmy Vasser saved an accident there.
A little further back, this is how the start looked from Bobby Rahal's car.
Green flag is on your left. There it is. And now it's a blast. Rahal's done this many times. Oh, Gilles de Ferran locks the right front. And look at the room Rahal gives everybody. Whoa. Had to take a bit of avoiding action there.
I got to tell you something, those lenses tend to push objects away a little bit, so that was a lot closer than you might imagine between Rahal and de Ferran. So Jacques Villeneuve is the leader, and nothing's changed in the top of the order, and 5 laps are complete in the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200.
Put 700 of the world's most powerful horses together, and what do you get? You get out of the way. The Budweiser Ken Schrader stock car. See you at the races.
Wet roadways like this inspired Goodyear's newest all-season Aquatred radio, the all-new Goodyear Aquatred 2. With a deeper, wider aqua channel to sweep water away for outstanding wet traction and a new TreadLife compound. Goodyear gives you a 65,000-mile warranty, so you've got wet traction when you need it. The all-new 65,000-mile Aquatred 2, only from Goodyear.
We've already put together quite a chapter for ourselves in racing history. Of course, another page or two wouldn't hurt.
When traffic congestion changes, the threats to your car's engine change. That's why Quaker State has engineered intelligent oil. Oil that senses the changing threats in your engine and adapts its own molecular structure for continuous protection. So whenever the driving conditions change, so does Quaker State, the intelligent oil for longer engine life.
Now buy a case of Quaker State and save up to $6 rebate for other store purchases. See store for details.
Back at the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200, here is the interval in between positions 1 through 6, and you'll notice Al Unser Jr. is sitting there at minus 1.8 seconds. He's closing that down very quickly. Look at him now as he comes around on this lap. That interval is going to close down to less than half a second. And he just may challenge Jacques Villeneuve for the lead of the race as they get down into the festival curves.
And we know how good Al Unser Jr. is, particularly under braking. The last 2 laps that he did were considerably faster than Jacques Villeneuve. In fact, Al Jr. at the moment has the fastest lap of the race under his belt. Now, one of the questions that came up when Villeneuve ran all these fast laps with such low downforce levels, they said in the race, can this last? Can the rear tires stay under this Reynard when he begins to slip and slide, particularly if the temperature rose? And it is hotter today than I believe it's been in most of the weekends running.
As we watch that battle for the lead, how does the crew keep track of this sort of thing? Well, of course, they have two-way radio with the driver, but they also have a television set in the pits that allows them to sit and keep track of the action. And what they know right now is that on the last lap, Al Unser Jr. ran the fastest lap of the race at 114.2 miles an hour. The EBS scoring keeping us up to speed on that. Now they flash down the front straight past the pits over the start-finish line, and Al Unser Jr. continues his pursuit.
And he's good under braking, but he's not close enough. The Ford engine in Villeneuve's car with less rear wing is fast down that straight. So I don't know whether Al Unser Jr. has the horsepower advantage in that Mercedes-Benz engine to catch Villeneuve. But all through the twisty section here, Al Jr. looks much, much faster than Villeneuve.
Unser Jr. scored his first IndyCar victory here. He's also the defending champion of this race, holds the race record, held the track record until Jack headed out yesterday in the final round of qualifying, and just in the final minutes grabbed it away.
Oh, he's under pressure here. Barry Green will tell you that Jacques Villeneuve is very, very good under pressure. Likes to absorb the pressure and not make a mistake. Look how quick Junior is through that S's.
Jan Beekes, you can update us on Al Unser Jr.
I sure can, and in particular about the Penske chassis. Keep in mind that when Derek's talking about the low downforce of the Reynard, the one thing about the Penske chassis we know, it is extremely consistent. That's why he's able to close in on Jacques Villeneuve. The Penske chassis throughout the duration of the race and the history of the Penske racing machines have always been very consistent. We also have a report that that car is showing a lot of bottoming. They have jab rocker wood underneath that car, and when it is on full tanks, expect to see just a little bit of smoke, but not a problem for Al Unser Jr.
Now, nothing else has changed in the order as we continue to watch this battle for the lead. Jacques Villeneuve in front, Al Unser Jr. in pursuit.
You can see under braking for the Festival chicane on the last lap, Al Jr. closed right up. I think he's beginning to pick his position. I think he's beginning to test where Villeneuve is quick and where he isn't. What's Junior here? Very quick to the right-hander. Right up behind him here. Penske team watches on television. And here's the important run. Can he get close enough under his rear wing to make a run down the inside? I don't think he's close enough this time.
Roger reaches up, talks to him by touching the